welcome to my channel. This is Gregory Novak. In this video I will be debating with Neil deGrasse Tyson, famous physicist, astrophysicist, the man who claims he knows everything about pretty much everything. So let's get started.
There are only a handful of experiments in physics that completely transformed physics. At many people's top of the list would have to be the Michelson-Morley experiment.
In the 19th century, physicists thought that since sound waves travel through air, light waves must travel through some sort of medium as well. They called this theoretical medium ether.
The famous luminiferous ether, this magical medium that was hypothesized to be what light required to move through the vacuum of space, just the way sound requires air to move from one place to another. How else could waves of light move through the vacuum of space unless there was some medium there, some hypothetical medium? Let's call it the ether.
Ether, they theorized, is an invisible nothingness that permeates the universe. Its only physical property is that it allows light to propagate through it. But once precise measurements of the speed of light became possible, testing the predicted effects of ether on the speed of light became possible as well. The Earth orbits the Sun at about 66,500 miles per hour.
You see, this is how it works. First, this is, as it's called, a scientific fact. Earth is orbiting the Sun, so everything else must fit in this dogma, no matter what.
If light travels through ether, they reasoned, then as the Earth moves through the ether, the speed of light should be different going with the ether than perpendicular to it. In an attempt to show the effects of ether on the speed of light, Albert Michelson and Edward Morley conducted an experiment in 1887 at what is now Case Western Reserve University.
Michelson was an expert in optical experiments, and he thought that he could devise an experiment where one would be able to see the slight difference in the speed of light measured on the Earth if you measured it along the direction of the motion of the Earth and at right angles to it. There should be a slight difference.
Compared to the speed of light, Earth is not moving that fast. So if you're going to check the difference in the speed of light measured with the movement of the Earth compared with transverse to it, you need a level of precision that no one had before. The Michelson interferometer was just such an apparatus.
Michelson and Morley devised an apparatus that would detect minute differences in speed between two beams of light. Light from one source is split into two directions through a half-silvered mirror. These beams are bounced between other mirrors and then recombined back into a single beam. When two light beams combine, if their waves are completely synchronized, the peaks combine to make an even more intense peak. If they are one half wavelength off, their peaks combine and cancel out the intensity. Slight differences in speed between two light waves will therefore produce a pattern based on the amount of interference between the two beams. This is known as an interference pattern. Examining the interference pattern from the two light beams sent out in different directions would clearly show if the speed of each light beam were different in different directions. But Michelson and Morley never detected such a difference. Their results were inconsistent with the existence of ether.
The scientific world didn't know what to make of it. The famous scientists in Europe, all Lord Rayleigh and Lord Kelvin and Lord Thomson, were saying, hey, come on, you must have done something wrong here. There has to be an ether. And the whole thing didn't get resolved until many, many years later when Einstein came along.
Simply put, they were not able to detect any Earth movement, even though, as Neil deGrasse Tyson says, Michelson and Morley had extreme accurate and precise instruments. But why he says something must be wrong? They all knew one doesn't fit the other. Either Earth is revolving around the Sun, or, as Michelson and Morley proved, Earth is not moving. So they all concluded that something must be wrong with Michelson-Morley experiment. They couldn't touch Copernicus model of the universe, source of existence of all science, physics, astronomy, let alone life source of most scientists, NASA included.
Einstein's theory of special relativity proposed that the speed of light is always the same, regardless of the speed of the light source.
You see, Einstein proposed. Did you hear that? Well said. So it is still a theory. Scientific world didn't know what to do. Then Einstein came along with his theory of relativity, which says, for those who know nothing about physics, that speed of light is constant in the universe, and with speed of light, length contracts and time dilates. Length shrinks and time expands. Although this is still a theory to this day, but it solved that problem. Everything is okay, said Einstein. Michelson-Morley experiment tried to prove that Earth is not moving, but in reality, which means theory, now becomes a reality, all their instruments shrank. This is why they couldn't detect any Earth movement. I have a problem with that. Actually, not only me, many open-minded scientists have the same problem too. My questions are, when exactly their instruments shrank? When they turned the light on, right? Also, it should be a correlation between power of a light source and the shrinkage. The more powerful light coming out, the more shrinkage it causes. Don't you think, Neil? Aha, you're still thinking. So let's say a 100-watt light bulb should cause more shrinkage than, let's say, 10-watt bulb, right? Or how about adding mass to that apparatus to see if it shrinks less? Einstein didn't even bother with those details. So in a practical life, when I turn the flashlight on, that flashlight shrinks, which means my hand shrinks too, because I'm a part of that apparatus. I shrink, the ground I'm standing on shrinks too. Well, can you imagine, by the same theory, with all light sources turned on, our Earth should be half size? Come on, Neil. Why not build an apparatus like Michelson-Morley, but based on 21st century technology, proving once for all that we are truly revolving around the sun? Something easy to understand even for high school students. Is it possible, right? You know, Neil, that we cannot prove that. You know the truth. And by the way, for all of you who are watching this, never say that physicists, astrophysicists are stupid. No, they are highly educated people, at least most of them. They know the truth, and you know the truth too, Neil.
The results of the Michelson-Morley experiment were entirely consistent with Einstein's view of the universe, and this served as the turning point in modern physics.
The Michelson-Morley experiment was an experimental advance in technology that transformed science. Not only physics, but science.
What do you mean, transformed science? You should rather say Einstein's theory of relativity, that was the answer for Michelson-Morley experiment, transformed the science. Albert Einstein got his Nobel Prize in Physics in 1921, but not for his E equal mc squared, but for his achievements in theoretical physics. The story is that for a couple years prior to this, there was a tremendous pressure for Swedish Academy of Science from all physicists. And you must know, he saved their lives to give Einstein a Nobel Prize. So Swedish Academy had no choice. But they didn't give him a Nobel Prize for his theory of relativity, simply because there are many gaps, assumptions in it. By the way, the same way nobody got the Nobel Prize for proving evolution. Just think about it. For Swedish Academy, all prizes in science must be based on facts, not on assumptions, even coming from renowned scientists. So this is for now, and Neil, I'll be debating with you soon. For all of you, please subscribe to my channel, click like, and share this with someone who is open-minded.